Good morning, everyone. We'll just give it another minute in case anyone else is joining. Well, thank you for joining us today to learn more about HortNZ's updated codes of practice. My name is Ailsa Robertson and I work at Horticulture New Zealand in the Environment Policy team. And we have three presenters today. I'm joined by Andrew Barber and Sarah Dobson from AgriLink New Zealand, and both Andrew and Sarah are the authors of the updated codes of practice. So we'll run through our material and there'll be time for questions at the end. We want to hear from you, so please do write your thoughts and questions in the Q&A function at the bottom of the screen. And throughout the presentation as we go, you don't have to wait until the end to do so. The session is being recorded and will be made available to anyone who missed it. So I think everyone's microphones are muted anyway, but just in terms of background noise, limiting that for the recording. Next slide, please, Sarah. This is the topics that we'll be covering. I'll be starting with an overview in the national policy context. I'll pass to Andrew to talk about industry's approach to environmental management and the EMS context, and Sarah will cover an overview of each of the codes of practice that have been updated this year. And then we'll talk about next steps. Next slide, please, Sarah. So I'll start with an overview of the broader policy context and where the codes of practice fit in. So this diagram, Sarah, if you could please admit, and I'll keep talking. So this diagram walks through the cascade of legislation and regulation that will govern how resource management decisions are made. And as you're aware, we'll be going through a reform of the resource management system. And there have been several phases, and we're in phase 3. And there are two main acts that are still bills that will replace the RMA. And so there's the Planning Bill and the Natural Environment Bill, and those bills are still sitting before the Select Committee. So underneath that, the government is reviewing and developing secondary legislation, including national instruments and regulation. And that aims to provide more national consistency and clearer direction for certain activities. And below that, in turn, the aim is to standardise regional plans and the rules that govern how growers access air, land and water at the regional and catchment scale. So those are the rules like permitted activity or those that needing a resource consent will be looking to be more standardised. Of course, for horticulture, a standards-based approach is well established through our GAP programs. NZ GAP and Global GAP have been operating in New Zealand for over 25 years, and these schemes use standards-based approach to manage risks, whether that's food safety or employment law or the environment. And these systems are robust and adaptable, and how how they approach new requirements is that if someone could please mute their thank you. So these systems and standards are robust and they're adaptable. So as requirements change, they can be updated and reflected. And they'll serve our industry well into the future. And below that, we have in the orange row, we have a pathway for programs to be recognised to meet freshwater farm plan requirements. So as a result of years of advocacy, the industry and growers, last year a legal pathway was created in the RMA to allow the Minister to approve industry programs like NZ GAP nationally, and NZ GAP will be able to audit and certify its members who need a freshwater farm plan. So that's a big win for us. and that means that it provides certainty of a recognised pathway to meet those requirements using the GAP systems. So without this pathway, programs like NZ would need to seek formal recognition from each council separately. It's a very lengthy and time-consuming process. And underneath that, we look to what industry is doing, what are our actions, how are we supporting growers? We're building a comprehensive solution through the GAP schemes, through NZ. This includes updated environmental codes of practice that we'll talk about today, and a new version of the NZ EMS, the Environment Management System add-on, to reflect the new codes and the Freshwater Farm Plan regulations that are due out later this year. And with the approval pathway that I mentioned earlier, ministerial approval, NZ can operate nationally to support all growers who wish to use this pathway. And just to note that all GAP certified growers can use the EMS, whether you're Global GAP or NZ. If you're interested in helping us with some early testing on the new EMS version, please get in touch. As well as developing the solution, we've done a lot of testing and rollout. So industry and growers have participated in testing and rollout of the EMS over the last 5 years, most recently through the Growing Change project. And through these projects, we have not only tested these pathways, but we've incorporated the latest research, decision support tools, and knowledge around growing sustainably. And I think I have another slide, Sarah. So my last point will be, to me, the codes of practice provide two really important functions. The first and most important is that they're designed to support growers to meet these regulatory requirements, whether that's a farm environment plan or freshwater farm plan, with confidence. They have supporting workbooks to practically work through the steps in the codes of practice, and Sarah will talk more about this. But secondly, they're a tool to build understanding and trust with regulators that the risks to freshwater from horticulture, and that really is the losses of nitrogen, phosphorus, and sediment, are being assessed and managed in a consistent and credible way, no matter what crop, growing system, or location. The key to this is that the codes are risk-based, and the level of practice that they prescribe is proportionate to the level of risk. So we want to take the mystery away of how growers manage environmental risks and build that trust so we have a comprehensive solution in hand. I'll pass over to Andrew now.
Cool. Thanks, Elsa. Look, I'm just going to be very brief, just in terms of people have seen me present this before, but the whole industry approach around this, and obviously today we're focusing on the codes of practice, but just keep in mind where that sits, within this context. So codes of practice, this is the second version of them. They've been developed over the last few years based on a whole range of research that's come out, and then these pull them together. But without any question, just reiterating what Elsa said, these codes of practice are underpinning farm planning, so they underpin the environmental management system, and just the opportunity we have here is to take these codes and turn them into actions, and actions that we can provide assurance to regulators, and report to them, and like Elsa said, provide confidence. So if you go to the next slide, please, Sarah. Yeah, so just like reiterating, it's all about these codes are all about providing confidence to the regulators, and I guess our challenge as an industry is there's the next few years, and I suggest there's a vacuum, and we as an industry need to be in a position to fill that, because if we don't, we can absolutely guarantee that others will. And I guess that's our challenge over the next few years. As we present as an industry, be that in the Environment Court, be that to parliamentarians, be that to regional councils, we need to be in a strong position to say this is what we do as an industry, and that our actions are underpinned by these codes of practice. So our challenge is to fill that vacuum. And Sarah, the final slide for me. Is when we present as an industry, it's far more powerful if we say this is what we are doing, as opposed to what we're sort of often saying is anecdotally this is what we plan on doing, or this is our intention. So we have this opportunity now in the next few years to put these practices into place, and that's a far more powerful proposition to put to the regulators. We will be able to demonstrate progress. We'll be able to go through the NZ GAP system, through the EMS, and present to the regulators for ultimately for better policy to carry on. That's my piece, Sarah. I'll hand over to you.
Thank you. Got to my section very quickly. So I'll be talking for the longest time, I think. So yeah, so I'll provide an overview of the codes of practice, and I will keep it quite high level, just because there are 5 that span a few sectors. So I'll touch on each of them and give you a bit of a an indication of where you can go to find more information about them. And if you do want more information or detailed information about a code that's relevant to your sector, just feel free to get in touch with us after this webinar for more information. So to provide you with a bit of an overview, so we have refreshed 5 codes. So the Drain Nutrient Solution Management Code of Practice, the Erosion and Sediment Control Code of Practice, the Nutrient Management Code of Practice, the Vegetable Wash Water Management Code of Practice, and the Vehicle and Machinery Washdown Code of Practice. So these codes, some of them, their names might have changed if you remember back to an earlier one, but they've all been standardized and updated to as Ailsa and Andrew have said, reflect updates to research and where the industry's going. And that's why we've done them all at the same time and released them as a suite to make things really easy for you as a grower to find information and to know where to go. So if you are looking for them online, I've got a QR code and a link here, and we will send this out afterwards for you. To provide a bit of a, an overview of what code applies to what sector, as I'm sure we have a range of growers from different sectors here on the call. We've got the Drain Nutrient Solution Management Code of Practice, so that's for covered cropping and soilless systems, and that targets nutrient loss. If you are a cover cropping grower, that applies leftover or drain nutrient solution to land. For outdoor growers, both fruit and vegetable growers, we have 3 codes. So the Nutrient Management Code of Practice, the Erosion and Sediment Control Code of Practice, and the Vehicle and Machinery Washdown Code of Practice. So those 3 codes target nutrient loss and sediment. And then for growers, particularly vegetable growers that have post-harvest facilities where you might be washing vegetables, we have the Vegetable Wash Water Management Code of Practice, which was previously the Vegetable Wash Water Discharge Code of Practice. And that is for vegetable growers because it targets, one of the main things it targets is sediment, which isn't necessarily an issue for fruit growers. And under here, the codes are, underpinned by the Irrigation NZ Codes of Practice, because all 3 of these sectors link into, or depending if you are applying to land for these, we've linked into the Irrigation NZ Codes of Practice to make sure you're following good irrigation management practice. So that's Irrigation NZ covers that part of that management aspect. There is a link here if you just want a high-level overview as well, but you're on this webinar, so that will probably say the same things that I will. So I have recorded just a little video, which I don't know if it'll be useful, but we'll play it just to show, talk through the website of where you might find this information. So jump onto the HortNZ website, click onto Grower Resources, you'll come to this Code of Practice page, the little flyers there. We have 5 of the codes right up front. This is way faster talking through it. These 2 workbooks, which I'll talk through, some YouTube videos that explain the workbooks, and we've got supporting documents for each code, and then links to some tools and resources as well. And then finally, we've got a link to historical codes of practice. So if you are operating under a consent which references a previous code of practice, then you still need to adhere to that code of practice. So we've kept all of those previous codes online should you need to refer to them. That was very quick. So, oops, no, we don't want to watch that again. One sec. There we go. Sweet. So we'll start off with the Drain Nutrient Solution Management Code. Oh, sorry. Here we go. That is, so this code is applicable for covered cropping and soil-less systems. So basically any system that collects leftover nutrient solution and needs to manage that somehow. So we know that some systems might fully recirculate that and have no solution to manage, and other systems may be drained to waste, or you might be outdoor with nutrient solution that is collected and then needs managing. So that's why we've used the term soil-less systems throughout the code, as we know there are lots of different types of ways nutrient solution can be used. So the code supports growers to responsibly apply a drain solution to land by developing a drain solution management plan. So a drain solution management plan can be used to demonstrate you are addressing the risk of nutrient losses from applying nutrient-rich drain solution to land. Now the code has this is quite a hefty code, but a good code. There's lots of content in there. And so it starts with a management hierarchy to kind of guide growers through. First, what can you do to eliminate nutrient solution? I mean, obviously you need it to grow your crops, but how can you reduce or at least design out, for example, the production of leftover nutrient solution or drain solution that needs managing? Then stepping down to minimizing, what can you do in your operation to minimize the amount of drain nutrient solution produced? And then finally manage, which is the focus of the code. What can you do to responsibly manage that drain nutrient solution through application to land? We then cover nutrient loss risk factors, particularly nitrogen and phosphorus. We cover selecting a suitable application site. So that covers things like topography, soil type, for example, like applying drain solution to free draining soils will have a different risk profile to like a clay-based soil. So we talk through all of that, or topography where you might have an increased chance of ponding and things. We've also got then information on calculating nutrient loads and storage. So there's a big section on calculations. So this talks through, so you've got your drain nutrient solution. What is the nutrient load in that? So what quantity of nutrients are you applying? And as well as storage. So how much storage do you need to hold that until conditions are suitable to apply? And finally, there's a section on applying responsibly to land. So things to watch out for: soils aren't saturated. There is crop demand for the additional nutrients you'll be applying. So there are this code has two really good supporting resources. First, we have a regional council rules guidance developed by Lynette, a planner that we've been working with. So this is a really useful document to see what rules could apply in your region. So that's really useful because different rules can apply depending on the regional council that you're in and the definitions of fertiliser or greenhouse discharge. So it can be useful if this is a new area for you to refer to that. And we've also developed a drain solution management plan Excel workbook. So this Excel workbook is a tool for growers to use to develop this drain solution management plan. And basically it's a space to capture all of that information I just went through. So selecting an application site, tracking your applications and responsibly applying to land. And both of these are available on HortNZ's website. So that's the drain nutrient solution management one. And for our cover cropping growers on the call, Andrew will be at the Covered Cropping Conference in the beginning of August to talk about this a bit more. So if you are going to that, then there should be a bit more information available then. Next, we've got our Nutrient Management Code of Practice. So this code is applicable to outdoor fruit and vegetable growers. This code supports growers to develop and implement a nutrient management plan to manage the risk of nutrient losses to fresh water, particularly nitrogen and phosphorus. And this code takes a risk-based approach. So it contains risk assessments to assess your risk of nitrogen and phosphorus loss, and then directs growers to a set of minimum and additional practices to implement based on the level of risk identified. So as said, yeah, key content, your nutrient loss risk assessments, a nitrogen risk assessment, as well as a phosphorus risk assessment. And you'll notice we've used an erosion risk assessment for that, as erosion is the biggest phosphorus loss pathway in horticultural production systems. Based on that, we have a set of management practices and a lot of detail. So the code, one of the biggest updates is providing a lot more detail on management practices that you might want to implement on your operation to manage your risk of nutrient loss. So have a look through the practice tables, I think it's section 5 at the end. And we've also included a new decision support tools section, which links into tools such as the SVS tool that can be used for nutrient budgeting. And these tools can provide you as growers with, they provide you with tools to use to implement these practices. And yeah, this code has had a significant update to align with the freshwater farm plan approach, which is block level and risk-based. And you might also notice, I guess, terminology within the codes as we refer to blocks instead of paddocks. So I guess paddocks is more vegetable focused, but blocks is allows you to define your blocks on your operation and take that risk-based approach as works best for you. The Nutrient Management Code of Practice is supported by a nutrient and erosion management Excel workbook. So I'll next go through the erosion and sediment control code. This workbook does both. And again, it provides you with templates to fill in your risk assessments and then show what practices you are implementing and what actions of these practices you then need to implement, space to record those actions and track your progress. So again, check that out. It is hopefully a very useful resource. And again, on these workbooks, I guess as a general thing, if there are room for improvement or things, just let us know. Like, we want to develop these things for you as growers to support you. So onto erosion and sediment control code of practice. So this updates the erosion and sediment control guidelines. It's applicable to outdoor fruit and vegetable growers. So we've had a scope extension to fruit. This code supports growers to develop and implement an erosion and sediment control plan to manage the risk of soil and sediment loss to fresh water. So key content includes an erosion risk assessment, which is the same as in the Nutrient Management Code for phosphorus. So the same risk assessment is used, which means less work for you, only one risk assessment. And similar to the Nutrient Management Code, we have a set of minimum and additional practices to implement based on that level of risk. So if you are cropping, if you're a vegetable grower on some steep slopes in Pukekohe, then you're probably more likely to be in that, say, red risk category, and then based on that, you're then directed to implement practices such as like a sediment retention pond. Whereas if you're on a flat, I don't know, river silt down in Hawke's Bay or something, then that would be an optional practice. So that kind of have a look and see how the practices align with the level of risk in the code. So after that, after your risk assessment, we've categorized practices into 3 sections, which I think is the same as the previous code. So 1, to control surface water entering your blocks, 2, to keep soil on the blocks and control erosion, and then 3, manage soil and suspended sediment moving off the block. So that's just a way of how the practices are grouped to show the 3 stages of managing erosion in your operation. And for any fruit growers on the call, thinking that perhaps this is not a big, I guess, yeah, you're in permanent horticulture, for example, grass everywhere, erosion is a very low risk for you. You'll note when looking at the code, we have designed it so there is a very low risk option for growers that have soil which is, I think it's not bare or less than 25% bare in a year. So if you you can see that you are directed to just several general practices and options for additional practices should you wish to implement them. So we don't need silt traps for fruit growers here, do not worry. So as far as supporting resources, we've got the same nutrient and erosion management workbook. So that workbook combines both the erosion sediment control code and the nutrient management code. So one workbook for both codes, which is really useful for outdoor growers. You only need to go to one place if you want to use that workbook. And then we also have links to the Don't Muddy the Water web app, which is a online erosion risk calculator. So you can use that or the risk assessment. So just another resource there for you to look at if you're interested. Fourth code, we're getting through there. Fourth code is the Vehicle and Machinery Washdown Code of Practice. So this was previously known as the Minimizing Soil Movement Off Farm Code. So I think we've simplified the name a little bit, but that's what it was previously. And this is applicable to outdoor fruit and vegetable growers. And it supports growers to manage vehicle and machinery washdown practices to reduce the movement of soil off-site and prevent the spread of pest diseases and contaminants. Key content includes a risk assessment on your risk of soil movement and then practices to implement to manage this. So this code was originally developed with a set of growers, and there have been changes have been minor just to align with the other codes, but again it just steps through what's your risk of soil moving off-site, and then if you're high risk, if you're tracking high risk of tracking soil onto roads, etc., is high, then you're directed to practices such as washing down your vehicles when you're moving between your different farms. Yes, and key resources, there is a background material and council rules document if you'd like a bit more information. This particularly covers information on washdown pads in a bit more detail if you are looking to construct one. And some council rules for, I think, Auckland, Waikato and Hawke's Bay, I think. Finally, the fifth code is the Vegetable Washwater Management Code of Practice. So this is applicable to vegetable growers that also undertake vegetable washing in a post-harvest facility. So this code supports growers to manage wash water from post-harvest vegetable washing through land application. We do have other options in the code if you don't have land available, but that land application is the recommended treatment pathway for vegetable wash water. So as far as content in the code, which has been updated significantly from the previous code, there is a wash water management hierarchy to kind of step through what can you do first to, I guess, like minimize the amount of wash water produced, and then stepping through like reusing it, for example, in your washing process, and then how can you treat and discharge it in a responsible way. We've also got some guidance on, I guess, understanding your wash water, so measuring volume and flow rate, composition, doing some water testing, and then based on that, what steps can you do and what treatment plan or management plan can you put in place. We've got a flowchart on treatment selection, as I said, land application. We direct growers to land application. If you don't have land available, then there are other options in the hierarchy that you can look into. And then supporting information on different treatments, such as settling ponds. There's some information on coagulants, flocculants, application to land storage, and then some more information on advanced treatments or off-site treatments as well. So take a look. Which is what I've just said. Apply to land, however, there's alternatives if this is not possible. So as far as supporting resources, like the drain solution one, we have done a rules review with Lynette Wharf, and she has prepared some regional council rules guidance. If you are a grower that has vegetable wash water that needs managing, this is a really useful resource to look at to see what council rules might apply. But in the case of these, it's always important to check with your council first. This can just provide you some guidance on what you might need to do. So as far as what's next, I think I'm handing back over to Ailsa now. Is that right?
Yeah, thank you, Sarah and Andrew, and great overview. And this is a slide on where you can find more information. But in terms of what's next, we are presenting at the HortNZ conferences if you happen to be attending. We'll also be doing some more engagement with regional councils on these new codes of practice over the coming months. And as I mentioned, freshwater farm plan regulations are due out late 2026. We're unsure of that time frame. But when those are released, the new version of the EMS can be finalised. But in the meantime, we are interested to hear if any growers would like to undertake some early testing with us. Of that, we have done some testing, grower testing, and sort of some training with the auditing bodies as well. But of course, the more testing we do, the better. And are there any questions? Nothing's come through the Q&A, but does anyone have any questions for us today? Feel free to just unmute yourself and ask a question.
Sorry, it's Richard Davis from Nelson Lakes Hops. I was just wondering, you say that New Zealand GAP is going to be rolling with this. This will be the platform used to regulate. They'll also be doing the policing. Is that going to be as well as council? Are they going to come in outside of those sort of things, or is it just a straight New Zealand GAP that will be doing the regulating and the policing?
That's a good question. So NZ GAP's function is to audit and certify members against the standard. So you'll develop your farm plan, and then you'll go through an audit, and the audit will determine whether you're certified through NZ GAP. But you may also you're doing it to meet a regulation, whether that's a regional council rule or it's the national freshwater farm plan regulations, if those apply to you. And in that case, NZ GAP will be doing some reporting to those regional councils on behalf of growers, and some of that will be aggregated information, and some might be farm business level information. That's to be determined. But council, if you're following a council rule, council also has a statutory obligation to follow up with, to undertake compliance, in association with those rules. So there'll always be, if it's a regulation, there'll always be an element of regulatory oversight, as well as being a part of the NZ GAP pathway. But the benefit of the pathway is you're doing, industry is doing the majority of the heavy lifting in terms of checking that growers are meeting the standard. So that's the benefit of the pathway, is that you're not having to report everything to council. We're supporting you with that, and also with sort of ongoing continuous improvement, monitoring that as well. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, no, that's great. Thanks very much.
Anyone else have a thought or a question they'd like to put forward? Well, you're welcome to reach out via email. The codes of practice are on the website. We encourage you to become familiar with them. As I mentioned, freshwater farm plan regulations might be released later this year, but it's unlikely they're going to be turned on until 2027, and we will be keeping you updated on that as well. And please feel free to get in contact with any questions. Thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Cheers,
Thank
guys.
you.